right. Thank you, Jerry and Faye, for joining us this evening on episode 5 of the Elkville Christian Church podcast. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jordan. And yeah, we're very excited to have you guys here.
Very excited.
We are too.
Like Jordan said, Jerry, you were the inspiration to what we wanted to do here with this podcast situation. We didn't know how to do it, but it was kind of a long time coming, and then COVID happened, and we finally picked up the pieces and are able to make this work. So,
Good.
Appreciate you all coming this evening. This has been great.
Absolutely.
So, I want to start off by reading our Bible verse this evening. Proverbs chapter 1, 1 through 7. It says, "The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, to receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the naive, to the youth knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel, to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction." So that may make it sound a little bit more righteous than we put on, but the Bible speaks over and over again as gleaning wisdom as something to be cherished.
Right.
And at the very least, as being young men, we've both been raised up in the church. Our perspective is only as broad as our time here, unless we read and talk to individuals who have been here longer than we have. So that's what we want to do this evening, is glean some information and some wisdom from the both of you, and hopefully increase our understanding of how life's supposed to work. So anyway, without further ado, Jordan's got some warm-up questions for us, and we'll turn it over to him.
Time to warm up the noggin.
All right.
What is your guys' favorite food?
Mine's strawberry dessert.
All right.
Strawberry shortcake.
Oh, like with the strawberry glaze on top?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my grandma used to make that.
Mine is fried chicken and coconut pie.
Making me hungry.
I know.
It's dinner time.
I don't know why, but no one's ever brought up dessert before. It's always been a meal, but that makes the most sense.
Yeah. All right. A movie you could watch on repeat.
A movie?
You could watch on repeat, or just a favorite movie that you have.
That's a tough one, because I don't really have a movie that I like Westerns,
Well, there you go.
and I could watch Westerns.
You read a lot of...
I read every Western that somebody printed.
Louis L'Amour?
Yeah.
He loved...
Yeah, I
Louis.
read, I don't know, 80 or 90 of his books, whatever, how many ever it was.
Well, there you go.
I've read a lot of those too. Discovered them in junior high, and I haven't read them all, but I've read almost all of them.
And I'm sad to say I've not read a single one, but I'm familiar with them.
Yep.
I got some you can borrow them. They're pretty good.
Yeah. I had a box full that I gave to somebody here in the church, and I can't remember who, but
Surely it wasn't my dad, was it?
no, I don't think.
Okay, because
Might have been
he had a box of used Louis L'Amour books, and those are the ones I've been reading.
What about you, Faye?
Probably my favorite movie would be, years ago, was Gone with the Wind. And I could probably watch it over and over.
Very good.
That's a good one too.
But I like Clark Gable.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So is my grandma.
All right, next question. Beatles, Beach Boys, or Elvis Presley?
Elvis Presley.
Elvis.
He seems to be the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you could visit any area or time period, what would it be?
Maybe when we first got married,
Okay.
that was my very favorite time. And, after that we had 3 kids.
Went downhill from there.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Faye?
I go back to, when I read a book, I like to read back in the 1800s.
Okay.
But I don't want to live back in the 1800s. It's too good the way we have things now.
Yeah,
But I do enjoy reading those.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus we've reached. I mean, we would like to visit some of these areas, but not live there because the quality of life, the health care, the food, just nothing is really as good as we have it right now.
That's right.
Past, present, or future. If you could have a dinner and a conversation with any one person, who would it be?
I think I would pick my dad because he was pretty sharp. And he was a coal miner, but he was still pretty sharp, and I enjoyed his mind and his exchanges.
Sure.
I miss my sister a lot, and I would like to go back or my mom too. You know, there's always something you wished you'd asked them.
Sure.
Or talked over with them, and you don't think about it till they're gone.
I don't know, somebody like Theodore Roosevelt. I'd like to talk to him, but like you said, I would love to just be able to, talk to my grandma Eva again, because like you said, I would have loved to have had this kind of conversation,
Right.
and just deliberately think and ask some of these things just to,
Right.
If you could be president for a day, what's the first thing you would do?
I would resign.
Great answer.
Politics today is just really not interesting me at all.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
My thoughts are like his. I'd shut the door and lock it and come home.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be a
I don't know. I think before I'd quit, I'd give everybody an apple pie or something.
Well, Jerry would agree
I'd
with
take
that.
that, but
All right. What would your dream job be?
I preached for about 15 years, some time in the past. And other than my job at the coal mines, I enjoyed it a lot because I got to run and operate all the machinery, all of it.
Really?
Yep.
That's a lot of responsibility, isn't it?
Yep. And I've had the boss would come to me and say, Jerry, you need to go down and run this today. And I would.
Very cool.
Well, I'm from way back, so my job, as far as a dream job, though, I enjoyed being a housewife and a mother. That was what I enjoyed. But a dream job, I used to always think, how cool it'd be to have a small little shop that had jewelry in it and little things like that. Nothing big, just a little gift shop.
Sure.
I thought that'd be fun.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Would you rather know the history of every object you touched or be able to talk to animals?
Oh, I'd like to talk to animals.
I would too.
We love animals.
I imagine they would have some very interesting things to say.
We had a lab at one time that was just so smart. You felt like he knew what you were saying. He was a very smart dog. I would have loved to heard some of his things.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Up, the Disney movie Up. It's an animated movie, but one of the characters on there is a dog named Doug. And all of the dogs in the movie have a collar on it that allows them to talk. And so it's very, very funny. And I almost think that's exactly how they would be.
They did a really good job of animating what a dog is wanting to say.
They would be standing here or just sitting here talking, and you would be talking to them, and you'd, squirrel! They'd look off in the distance and just so distracted. I don't know. Very funny.
We're getting warmed up now.
All right.
I don't know.
On to the meat and potatoes.
Where were you born?
In Elkville, not in the hospital, in Elkville.
At your home.
He was a home baby.
Yep.
Okay.
Mother must have been a brave woman.
She was.
Strong woman.
That's pretty much everything. That's how it went then, though.
How many siblings did you have?
One brother,
Was he older or younger?
younger,
Younger.
by about a year.
Was he born in the house too?
I don't remember.
I don't either. I don't think he was. I think he was born in a hospital, but I don't know that for sure.
How about you, Faye? Are you from here, born and raised?
Well, I was born in DuQuoin, Marshall Browning,
Okay.
but lived here all my life until we got married and even past then a little bit. But yeah, spent my life here.
What's the age difference between the two of you? Is there one?
Yes, I know perfectly. 1 year, 5 months, and 8 days.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's very specific.
Now, the reason I know that is because I had eyes on Jerry in the 8th grade. Now, he didn't have eyes on me, but I
would
had
rather
eyes
fish.
on him. He loved to fish and hunt, and the girls wasn't in his picture. But my mom, when I was a freshman, and I started, of course, I couldn't date then, but she knew I had my eyes on Jerry, and she said, "He's too old for you." And I said, "Mom, he's just 1 month, 5, and I did that all along. Every time she said that to me, he was 2 years difference in school.
I see.
That was the argument point right
Yes.
there. Had the exact amount of time.
And the argument point was my dad was 4 years older than Mom. So I'd say, "Hey."
Oh well, that's not even close.
Yeah. 1 year, 5 months, and 8 days.
So did you guys know each other then your whole life growing up, or were your families close?
Yeah, we were, well, in Elkville, everybody knew everybody. Everybody was friends. You
knew
could go
your
to
neighbors.
anybody's house. As a kid, I could go to anybody's house in town and ask for a drink, and they'd give me a drink and never question it.
What was the population when you guys were growing up?
About the same. What,
Yeah,
900 or
pretty
so?
about the same. Mm-hmm.
How many?
900.
That's 900.
It's
Okay.
900,000. I don't know. It's went down a little bit.
It
Has
has,
it?
yes.
So, but it was okay. I figured it would be smaller.
It was
No, Elkville was a pretty good sized town. Yeah, as far as what was in it,
What?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
because we had 5 service stations. We had a lumber yard. We had 3 grocery stores, and we had a
2 doctors, a
doctor, and a
dentist,
dentist.
2 drugstores,
Mm-hmm.
a movie theater,
Yep.
and of course, the post office. And then there was a store that sold things like a dime store. Only it wasn't a dime store then. She had all kinds of stuff.
And ice cream too. That's why I liked.
There you go.
And then we had Ivy Tebow's place where Jerry hung out there a lot because she sold comic books. So he'd go in there and read them and then leave.
What comic books?
I like the hero guys.
Okay, like superheroes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like that Superman and those kind of comic books.
very cool. So where was all this stuff located? Was it just on the main drag?
Yeah,
Most of 'em.
on the main street. Most
We
of
had
it.
2 barbers, a bank, and at one time we had a Kroger store where the library is now.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We had everything we needed, and my family, we didn't even own a car until I was in the 8th grade. You just had everything here you needed. You didn't need to go out there.
Yeah, didn't need anything.
It was amazing. And the doctors made home visits too if you had to.
Well, you can't beat that.
No. And it was always so pretty. People took pride in their homes back then. And
Painted their trees white in the summertime.
whitewashed them.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
It's pretty.
Yep.
I miss it.
So when did that stuff kind of start disappearing?
About the time we got ready to move out. We live there now, but we moved out to go for me a different job.
Okay.
In 67.
Was that when it was? 67.
All that stuff started to fade away, huh?
Yeah, and the stores quit because they couldn't make any money.
So was the industry behind it all the coal mines, or was it something else?
It's coal mines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were working at the coal mine.
Yeah.
What was the coal company's name?
Where you?
Arch Minerals
Arch Minerals. Okay.
over on the other side of Pinckneyville.
Okay. So that kind of dried up, and the town, all the other businesses kind of dried up after that too.
I think that dried up other places around here before that when you went to work, because Arch was a booming place over there.
Okay.
This was all before that.
Gotcha.
We used to have a big something else, railroad.
A railroad station?
Yeah. And it was fun. The mail would come in, and the people at the post office would go out with a cart and get the mail, and it was just
quite
a
a
fun
deal.
place to live.
That reminds me, you mentioned something. I guess it was about the DuQuoin State Fair, or I guess it was privately owned back then. But you said people used to dress up and wear gloves and get on the
my
train and go to the
goodness,
fair.
yes. When my mom was young,
Okay.
it was a big deal for DuQuoin. And that's what they did. They dressed up, and they would go every night to see the shows, and they're dressed up to the hilt, it was a big deal. And of course that faded away in time. Now they go in however they want to go.
I think we should bring that back.
I know.
That sounds very neat.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't go. I didn't buy tickets. I snuck in.
Yeah.
I'd find a place in the fence that you could get in, and wasn't anything bad about it.
I see.
I wasn't the only one. It's
Right.
Whenever
You can name names on this video.
Yeah. Statute of limitations, you're good.
And years ago, when we were young, the family would go, we'd go one day, and Mom would pack us a lunch, and, we took care of that kind of stuff. It was a whole different thing than what the fair is now.
When did it become state-owned?
I think maybe it was always state-owned. It was.
No, the Hayeses owned it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought an individual or a family owned it, and then it was purchased, I thought, kind of recently by the state.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't remember, but yes.
I don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did you start going to Elkville Christian Church?
I started going when I was born. I was raised in this church.
Okay.
So was it always located just right there on that corner?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I came over. I was raised a Baptist.
Okay.
And when we talked about getting married, my folks went to different churches. So therefore, you didn't have the unity of the family in a church. So I told myself, I mentioned it to him, about coming over to the Baptist church. Whew, no, no way. So I chose to come over here, which I'm very thankful that I did. Mm-hmm. But that's how that got started. And it would have been in, we got married in, when did we get married?
65 years, 66 years ago.
That's
Congratulations.
awesome. Yeah.
So
78.
was that a big adjustment for you to go? I mean, were you raised? You said you were raised Baptist. Yeah. So was that a big?
How'd the parents take that?
They didn't say anything. No, they didn't say anything. We just have a few things different, than the Baptist church, and it's mainly man-made stuff. So.
Right. All right. Well, as far as ECC goes, you got some history there. Can you share some of the stuff you got there, please?
It was the way. Of course, you have to remember that the railroad had two rails, two sets of rails, and they would bring. When the church started, when it got started to grow, they put in a tent down there by the little creek and had a revival, and it lasted a month or so.
Oh, wow.
Did a lot of people ride the train and stuff into church, or was it mostly local? Or?
For the revival, they did.
Okay.
They had a special train. That's what he's probably trying to find.
They had a train that left DuQuoin and stopped at Elkville, and people got off, like 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Holy moly.
Yeah. There was a ton of people. And there were
Then the train after the revival, the night the train would take them back to DuQuoin.
Yep.
It was just special train for the revival.
Wow.
It was, of course, it was before our time, and we've just heard the stories.
Sure.
Yeah.
So do you know where they stored the train when it wasn't being used? Did they use it for anything else,
no,
or
it
just
parked on the? Because they had some people here in Elkville who got gasoline from the trains, and so they had a whole area that they parked the train. There used to be a loading ramp out here on our parking lot that they would load stuff on there, drive up there and dump it in this. And it was just really amazing what all they did. And they won. I'm trying to find out how many people we had joined our church early, and it was around 50 or 60. And this meeting lasted, well, in fact, at one time, toward the end, the storm come and blew a tent down, and they moved it again back down more toward the creek. And they put a dam on the creek to baptize people, and that's where they would baptize them at.
Wow.
Wow.
So with the revivals, did they? What did you guys do? Did you have meals? Did somebody preach the whole time, or was it different pastors? Or what all?
Usually, it's the same preacher.
Okay.
Here it says as many as 1,000 to 1,500 people attended from the surrounding towns and area.
So this revival, what years are we talking about? Was this
Before we were here,
early
kids.
1900s?
1887.
1887. Okay.
Wow.
The Christian churches of Jackson, Perry, Franklin, and Williamson counties bought this tent for $200. All the churches owned it, and the Elkville church put it down here first. Actually, it's where this road goes down toward the creek.
Okay.
That's where they had the tent down there.
Okay.
And it was quite a deal.
That's neat.
It's very
That would
interesting.
have been something to see.
And that was before the church was started.
Okay.
We didn't have a building.
Okay.
Some ladies gave some money to build this first building, and it was like $1,200 to build the building. Plans were drawn for the main church building without a baptistry or a basement or the 3 classrooms. In March 1889, there was a preacher who was holding a 2-week Sunday school institute here at the time, and it was to cost the church building with $1,200. 3 church meetings were held, and a guy named Reuben David, a contractor from Murfreesboro, began the erection of the church building in June 1889, and it was completed by fall. And that was pretty good building for $1,200. And later on, they added the extra classrooms. They put a basement in because they needed to have a furnace.
Okay.
And a lot of things.
So were both of your families, were they raised here as well?
Raised in Elkville, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
My mom was
you're-
raised in DuQuoin.
okay.
So you're both local.
Yeah, her dad, though, ran a grocery store uptown. My grandpa run a store right by him. And so
little
Yeah.
competition there. You know, they both had grocery stores or meat markets. My uncle owned the store, but my dad worked in it.
So, as far as so, did you always have a family member attending Elkville Christian Church?
Yes.
Wow.
My mom and dad did until they passed away.
Well, and Grandpa.
And well, Grandpa did too, yeah.
During that one meeting, you mentioned doing some of the electrical work and things like that in the old Elkville Christian Church building.
Yep, I did. Wired all the lights. And
But that was when we had a storm.
Yeah.
You know, remembering that took everything off.
that was when I knew what I was doing too.
So we had a storm. When was that? Was it a tornado or was it just an actual?
No,
Just a storm.
And I can't remember, but a lot of damage. It seemed like, but the whole top. Were you remodeling at the time? What was it?
Well, we were remodeling, putting in those new lights.
Well, before that, had this terrible storm, and I know the roof was off. Your grandmother, I can see Dorothy crying in the basement because water had just got all over, of course, everything. It was such a big mess. And then I think the guys were remodeling the top part, you know, and she was so sad. Everybody was so sad, but it worked out. You know, the good Lord always sees that things work out.
Absolutely.
And that's when then they went starting to put it on. That's when he did the rewiring of the church. And
Okay. So where did you learn to do all that stuff? From the coal mines? Or?
Yeah, I was an electrician at the coal mine.
Okay.
And I also took a couple of classes at John A. Logan for electrical and plumbing.
Was that right after high school, or did you go back and take
No,
classes?
that was after I quit the mines.
Okay, so years later then.
Yeah.
Did you go into the coal mines right after high school?
Yes, I took a job first as an insurance salesman, and that wasn't my job. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
And it got so bad, I'd have to go to bed in the afternoons and have headaches and just make me sick. So
it's too stressful.
I told her, I said, I want to go over and talk to your uncle and see about, because he worked at that mines.
Okay.
And I went over there and they hired me.
So you're very close to my grandpa's age. I think he was born in 36. And he had to do, the reason I'm bringing that up, he did some basic training, but he didn't see any combat or anything like that because it was in between conflicts or whatever they want to call them. Did you have to do anything like that?
I tried to join the Air Force because I wanted to be a bomber pilot.
Okay.
And we even went to Belleville to the Air Force thing up there, and they decided I couldn't do it because they said I would, when I got up high, I would lose my vision.
You'd see double.
And that's not true because I got my pilot's license later, thanks to this little girl.
Yeah. So how'd you get your pilot's license because of her?
She said I could.
Oh,
Yeah.
We lived at the farm at the time, and he went over to Benton and took lessons.
okay.
And
That's cool. That's something I've always wanted.
he loved it, just loved it.
Yep. And then the kids all got into age for school, and that took care of that.
So did you ever actually own a plane, or did you rent one, or did you guys fly a whole lot together, or do anything?
No, I rented one.
Yeah.
But that was cheap then.
Well, I got my pilot's license while I was in college because my dad told me to get it while you could, and he would pay for it. And so I did.
Bonus.
And if I liked school, I probably would have stayed and furthered that education because that was by far the best education I got was learning how to fly, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too.
And so I worked right there by the Benton Airport, and there used to be a gentleman, and there were about 5 or so individuals that owned a plane together, and they're wanting another person to join in, but it's still way too much money. I can
Oh
justify.
yeah, it's really pricey right now
Yeah.
today.
Well, and my brother Bo is a A&P mechanic, and I was thinking that one of these days maybe he and I could join forces, because that's really where all the money comes in, is all the inspections and maintenance you got to do. But
Well, you need your maintenance guy.
right, that would be.
It's perfect.
I'm sure he'd work for free.
Oh yeah, be cheap labor.
Yeah,
Just feed him.
yeah. Cultures today and back in your guys' day, if you will, are a lot different.
Yes, they are.
The way people conduct themselves, present themselves, I think is a major difference in our cultures today. Is there anything about what you've experienced in life from decades as they change, that's the same as today? That like is this just a shock? Is every new generation shocking, or is it like, oh well, that's just like it was back?
No, it's different now than it was then when we were growing up. Because in Elkville, if I got thirsty, I don't care where I was at, I could go knock on the door and ask for a drink. They'd give me a drink.
And know that you were Bert Aken's son.
Yeah.
You know, where now we don't even know our neighbors. And back then you went to visit your neighbor.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think changed that? Because I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. When we lived in DuQuoin for 3 years or 4 years, I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I knew a couple of my neighbors, but I just kind of kept to myself. And
Yeah. Well, we do that now
We do
too,
that
though.
now.
And across the railroad track, there's several people over there that I don't even know who they are. And people just don't visit. They kind of just stay in their own little unit there, and we do too now. You know.
Well, there's a couple that moved in 2 houses down from us, and I've never talked to them.
and I wonder if it's because we're all so much busier. You know, when,
Well, I think a lot of busy.
you know, if I wasn't so busy, I'd be like, well, I wonder what so and so's doing. I'll walk down there and talk to them and just, you know, shoot the breeze.
That's one thing that I miss about when we, like Jerry said, that was always seemed like the best time to get, grow up. But people weren't busy. And nowadays, the kids are so busy, they didn't want to have time to slow down. And I hate that for them. It keeps the family busy. Everybody's got to go here and go there, and they don't even hardly have time to eat together.
And that's
And
that's
that's
terrible.
sad, for me, because we didn't grow up in that time.
I agree 100%. I think the dinner table is
So important.
very, very important.
It really was, because it's the only time as a unit you're all together and share your days and talk about good things and bad things, whatever. But I miss that part.
It seems today we lack community, and it's so odd because we're so connected now with these phones, but I feel like as a society we've never been further apart.
Yes.
It's strange, and that's my best friend Lucas passed away. I don't know, it's been over 10 years now, but just every once in a while I catch myself thinking, I was like, man, if I could just talk to him for 5-10 minutes, I bet he would not believe how crazy things were from just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just it's strange times.
So you said you were a preacher.
Yes.
Where did you preach?
I preached in Christopher and Tamaroa and here.
But you're talking about a full-time.
Yeah,
Prior to that?
I preached for about 15 years, maybe. Wasn't it that long?
More.
More?
So was that after you had kids?
Oh, yeah. That was after we had everything.
Okay.
They were raised. The kids were.
So about what years was that then?
In 1992, Jerry retired from the coal mines and went into the ministry.
Did you have to go to school for that?
Yes,
Yes.
2 years at
Went
Kentucky.
to Kentucky.
Okay.
Christian college and drove over there and stayed all week, and it was neat. I enjoyed it. This girl didn't.
A lot of time away from home.
Yep. 2 years.
Yeah.
So then you came back from school, and where did you start preaching at?
Tamaroa.
Tamaroa.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you there for?
6.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, because I remember.
In 92, he went up there.
Okay. And then how long were you in Christopher?
Almost 3.5 years.
Because I'm trying to remember, because when my dad and Warren and Nathan and Lyle, Uncle Lyle, did the Master's Men, I remember going to your church and them singing and having a dinner and stuff, but I don't remember if it was in Tamaroa or...
Probably Christopher.
Probably Christopher.
Yeah, probably Christopher. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you come back to Elkville?
2001.
I don't not remember you being here, but that
No,
would have been
I
after
don't-
we started coming then.
I remember going to their churches, but when my dad did the Master's Men thing, but it seems like I always remember you also being here, so it's kind of conflicting. And when you come back, did you preach here for a while, or did?
Yes, for a while.
Okay.
But only to fill in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who was the preacher here when you come back?
I'm trying to think. The guy left.
Wasn't Terry Newton, was it?
We didn't know him. He moved to California. He was a young.
Oh, Aaron?
Aaron Brockett?
Yeah.
Okay.
And right after that, then we came in.
Okay.
Really? Wow.
Seems like forever ago.
Yeah.
I have a story about when Jerry, the Lord was working on him, and the Holy Spirit was after him and wanting him to preach, and I kept saying, no, Jerry. At the time, Jerry sang a lot, and he would go to different churches and sing at revivals and different things. Yeah. And I held him back for several years. I kept saying, no, I think God wanted you to sing. You know, I'm trying to help God out here. I think he wanted you to sing, and that's how you can do your ministry, through the singing. And it went on for several years, and he just knew that he was calling him to preach. And one day, whenever I said, okay, I guess, you know, God knows more than I do. If he's after you that much, we better do it. Yeah. So Jerry knew by me saying, okay, that was it. I kept trying to help God, and he didn't need help. So
while we're kind of on that subject, is there any particular time that stands out to either one of you, both of you, that God, Holy Spirit has helped you guys get through a difficult situation or time in your life, or just a time maybe when you had to really rely on him, to get through? Does anything come to mind?
Well,
Whenever I went into the ministry, my salary dropped from, okay, that's not bad, to whoa. Yeah. But we made it. Yeah. Didn't have any trouble. God took care of us.
we didn't miss any meals, but I'm the worrier, and I thought, oh, Jerry, you think we can make it? And it's been a blessing. You can't outdo God.
Right. Yeah. If he's calling you to do it, he's going to take care of you.
Yep. That's true. You
don't miss it at all. At first I thought, oh my gosh, how in the world are we going to manage, but because that was a big drop.
Is there anything that you do? Is there personally something daily that you like to do? I don't know, for example, staying in the Word, reading Scripture. You have a prayer practice or anything?
Oh, we pray pretty steady, but
I know some people, there's 31 chapters of Proverbs. They read one a day. Is there anything, practice biblically that you guys read together? Do your devotionals together?
Actually, we don't. We should, but we don't.
We have our own time.
Oh, and that's totally okay too. I just didn't know if there was anything particular.
I wish we had when the kids were little. That's one. You always regret a few things that you didn't do, and one of those was we didn't do that with them to get them. They went to church all the time, but not as a unit, as a family unit. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few minutes a day, everybody's there at the same place doing this.
Sure.
Noted.
Yeah.
That's something we don't do either, but that makes perfect sense.
We don't. Yeah. I mean, we pray at the dinner table, and then I usually, or me or Emily, try to read. She's got a kid's story Bible. We try to read that to her every night. But yeah, I think doing it as a unit is good. Yeah. And the work that Allison and Susan are doing in the nursery has really helped a lot. They've been learning the 10 Commandments, and it's helped me learn the 10 Commandments. Because I'm sad to say I did not know all of them. So what age were you two when you got married?
I was 19 and he was...
I was 21.
Any marriage advice for us young folk?
All I can tell you is, I don't know what I can tell you other than I've loved this girl since we were kids. And she's been my life. And I couldn't get by without her.
Well,
we've been married now for 66 years.
Almost.
Well.
But Jerry and I dated a long time before we got married too. We dated 5 years before we got married, and as you know by then, you know all the ups and downs, the grouchies or not the grouchies, and you know those kind of things. You know the person real well, and there were no surprises. You know, I knew he loved to fish, and I knew he loved to hunt, and when those times came and he wanted to go. You know, because that's something he really enjoyed to do. But you have to know that person and understand 50-50 for sure. And they always laugh about 80-20 or something, but 50-50 works pretty good.
Yeah, because, I mean, I take it marriage is work, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it to make it work out for both of you. And
Right, yeah.
you don't just accidentally, everything works out okay.
No,
That's
it's certainly hard work.
Jerry's always been so patient. He's a very patient man, and he always has to be. I'm the feisty one, and he lays back, okay, Mom, you know. But it works out good. Like his Aunt Maureen used to tell us what the other person doesn't do, and then you do, it's you help each other. And that works out good. Opposites.
Yeah.
I keep hearing that opposites attract.
Yeah. Well, I think for so long they've been telling us, our generation, that you're two equal individuals coming together, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
But really you're unequal, but you're making something equal together. The two of you are equal.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not 100% starting out. You're, like you said, 50-50. And so you both bring different characteristics and attributes and skills to the table.
Yep.
That make the family work.
Yeah.
I truly don't believe in parents arguing in front of the children. You know, I think that's something that's not good for the kids. They don't need to hear your grumbles, and do it private. Nothing wrong in grumbling, you know. It's just do it privately.
Now I've heard it both ways. I've heard it's not good, and I think maybe certain conversations and subjects may not be. But I've also heard that it is good to see them you disagree, but it's also important for them to see you make up, so they can see how to handle conflict and resolve it.
You're probably right on that, because now I remember Jerry and I we're just very unusual. We don't argue. We don't fuss. And I don't know why. One or the other gives in. But you're right, because if the kids don't see that, then they get married, and their first argument, it's going to be bad. Something's wrong, because Mom and Dad never did that. Yeah. So you're right. That's a good point.
Well, that's some of the things we want to try to be as dads as intentional in raising our kids.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it seems like a lot of our peers or our generation is just kind of they start out perfect and you need to get out of their way, and I don't really believe in that. I think you don't need to inhibit them by any means, but your whole job as parents is to instruct them and form them into the person that God created them to be, and some things require being intentional. And choosing. My wife and I bicker in front of them a few times, but I could see it's probably deciding what to show them and what not to. Any final words or thoughts you'd like to bestow upon us?
Can't think of anything offhand other than doing the best you can to keep the kids
Teaching them
in
how
church.
what's going on in the
what
world.
God wants from them and expects from them.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard raising children. I always said that was the hardest job God ever gave me.
Yeah.
You know, Jerry was busy working all the time, but it's hard raising a family nowadays, even back then.
I agree. We're just getting started.